But then what happened was we had the Balcones fault zone form. And when the Balcones fault zone formed, basically this side was higher than this side because this side dropped down. So we still had these streams going from west to east, but instead we had now streams cutting down into the sides of this escarpment that had just formed along here. And so we had streams forming here and here, and I'm simplifying it, and others along the escarpment. And so as they moved upward, they captured those rivers. And so now if you look at the Medina, you look at the Guadalupe and some of the other streams in the area, you find that they go basically west to east, and then they make a sharp turn down to the south. West to east, sharp turn down to the south because they were captured. And so it got me thinking maybe something similar has happened with Perry Water Cave. Perhaps not related exactly to the faulting, but if we look at this area in general, and we'll focus here on Medina, coming off this way. Well, actually, let me just, here we go. Okay, we've already got it drawn here, and we can see here's Medina, and it cuts back down this way, and where the Guadalupe cuts is off the map. But what this got me thinking about is maybe, can I draw on this?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Let me just use a different color. Maybe the cave formed as a recharge area out here, but formed to flow, to discharge to the Medina River. And then what happened, as we had these streams from along the Balcones fault zone cut their way northward because of this dramatic escarpment, so they're eroding quickly up to the north. Maybe as these moved upward, we had a steeper gradient now to one of these streams, the East Fork of the Frio, and it pirated water down this way to form Perry Water Cave. And so Kurt was wondering, well, where is the stream? Where's the pirated stream? It would be basically a dendritic system like we saw up here, a series of contributing passages up here that's been pirated down this way. And so eventually, if we can push the cave far enough, what happens is that we push the cave, and this is schematically, of course, we reach a T intersection, and all the water's coming down this way, and nothing is going down that way, because this is the point of piracy. Now, it's also possible this could be completely blocked, because after the piracy occurred, there could be flooding episodes. Without water going down in this direction, all sorts of mud and silt could have been deposited that way. That could just block that off completely, or it could just be an open passage. We don't know enough about the history of the area, but it's possible that I would expect, if this is a piracy, that at some place we're going to make that left turn and get into this type of system, this type of dendritic system here that will feed most of the water down here. Now, at least down into the current part of the cave. Now then, if this passage is open, and Bill told me to speculate wildly in terms of maximum length of the cave and all that, then perhaps we may be able to follow that passage all the way down to wherever it drained to along the Medina. Now, how big is this passage? Is it passable? Mud-filled, all that aside. This passage would likely be smaller than this passage. I mean, it's certainly going to be smaller than this passage, because we've got a large passage down here that's been formed by the water flowing down this way, and And so the size of this passage is a factor of how long water has been flowing through it. Well, the passage here has had water flowing through it during the time that this passage formed, plus this. But this has been abandoned for a long time, so not much water has been flowing in this segment, so this will be a smaller segment. Now, the good news about it is that as you go further downstream, you'll pick up tributaries feeding into it, and that passage should get larger. Now, it's going to take a while, of course, for it to get significantly larger in a consistent way, but potentially this could go a long way off down toward the headwaters of the Medina. Now, let's see here. Where was it? Here we go. Okay, here's this map showing the upper end of the cave and showing some of the other caves in the area, Adam Wilson, Station C, Haby Salamander, Steamy Crack. One of the things we've wondered about for a long time is Haby Salamander connected in some way to Perry? And early on I was thinking, well, maybe, I don't know, but I'd never really had plotted or seen the location of the cave. I knew roughly where it was, but like I say, never really saw it plotted on a map. We know that there's a big passage with water down there in Haby Salamander. Now that we see it plotted, we can see these very steep contours from the headwaters of the Sabinal River. And again, water is trying to get to its lowest elevation as quickly as possible. With Haby Salamander being so close to this area, I can't help but think that it's going to that water is flowing, probably trying to get down to one of these canyons. And considering where we are here up in the cave, for the cave to come on up here and connect to Haby, maybe a stretch. In terms of, let's say, Haby being an upstream part of the cave in terms of the water from Haby flowing into here, I think that's a stretch. But what may not be a stretch is that the cave goes up here and then hits this T that I was talking about, with this going off toward the headwaters of the Medina. And then we not only have this piracy here from the East Fork of the Frio, but we're getting some water. Like I say, we go down this passage, and we're going to have some contributions from this area, Adam Wilson's and other areas. And so we may see another piracy occurring here along the Sabinal, and maybe Haby is part of that. Maybe the water now is pirating down to Haby. So there might be another T intersection, and then past that T, again pushing on down to the Medina. So that's kind of my big picture idea of what might be happening. It at least makes sense relative to this big section of passage without any real significant side passages. Now, there's this new inflow of water. What does this mean? In a way, I think it's irrelevant, because let's say that that's a new source of water or not, regardless, there was a lot of water that formed this part of the cave. The question has been, well, where's the rest of the water? Again, irrelevant. A lot of water formed this cave, and so that structure was created by water. So whether the water is there or not, a structure of this sort should be in place. And so what the Dallas Skyline side lead really means, well, we'll see. I mean, that might be, perhaps it is a piracy. Perhaps it's pirating water from some upper part of the cave down to a lower part of the cave, and that there's so much water stored in that section that by the time you guys have gone in, muddied it up, and gotten out, it's still clear because there's just so much water being stored there.
There's also an end feeder in Sump 1, by the way.
Okay.
Underwater.
All right. So, it's you know, the more in-feeders that you have, and maybe they're, you know, they just, for one reason or other, haven't been found, the more in-feeders you have, then the more likely we may be having this situation here, a typical dendritic situation, instead of a piracy. If it's a dendritic situation, then I think the potential for a lot more passage drops down significantly. If it's a piracy situation, then, you know, you're pirating, you're capturing all that dendritic flow, but then you're going on over to other areas off to the Medina and expands your possibility quite a ways of where this whole thing may end up. So that's my kind of big picture, arm waving view of what may be going on out there. One of the things I've found in my years of looking and thinking about cave geology, and one of the things I actually like about working in caves and working in karst is that you know, as soon as one of us so-called smart people says we think we know something about them, you know, these caves love to make us look bad, you know, make us look really silly and say, no, that didn't work out. But that's part of the fun of it. But with the information I have, I am looking forward to looking at the survey notes, at some of the data a little bit more closely, just other projects, other things I have to do right now that are in the way. But as I have more ideas, I'll kick them off to you guys, and we'll see what happens.
Okay.
So,
thank you, George.
you bet.
I'm going to pan this room. What room are we in here?
This is the classroom, where we will have lectures and workshops and classes and small conferences and all that stuff.
When do you expect this building to be in full operation?
Well, the public parts of the building, which include the classroom here, I expect we're going to move in late January, early February. Part of that delay, even though the building is pretty much ready to go, part of that delay is just getting our furniture in, which has to be made in about 46 weeks now. We have our certificate of occupancy. And then, actually, we've already talked to the BLM about having a workshop that they're doing sometime in March. And as far as full operation, we're looking for money to finish the rest of the building, which is the library directly above us, the lab, storage area, garage, and some of the landscaping. So we're looking for money, but it's coming. We're growing, we're building.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.